If you've ever been on pilgrimage to the Holy Land, what were some of the most memorable sites that you visited? Or if you plan to go, what would be on your itinerary? Perhaps you would say Mount Tabor and the Church of the Transfiguration, whose exterior and interior mosaics are done entirely in a brilliant white. Perhaps it's chanting the rosary while walking the Via Dolorosa, the processional route in the old city representing the path Jesus was forced to take by the Roman soldiers on the way to his cross. While these and many others are considered must-see sites and experiences, there is a historical site often overlooked, and yet it has an amazing history. I was there a few years ago. Often mentioned twice in the Synoptic Gospels, Matthew and Mark, let me describe the city. Located some 25 miles north of the Sea of Galilee, this city had many names as it was conquered by the Babylonians, then Persians, then Greeks, then Romans. It is considered, or it was considered, the gate of the underworld because the city stood at the base of a mountain where a huge cave was formed into its hillside. The cave has a deep cavity in the earth and was thought to be the gateway to hell. And from the cave gushed a large spring from where the Jordan River comes to life. During the Hellenistic and Roman periods, unthinkable immoral activities, pagan worship of fertility gods, human, including children and animal sacrifices, dominated city life. Herod the Great erected a temple for Augustus and built other pagan god shrines. Today, located on the Golan Heights near the border with Syria and Lebanon, this city was Caesarea Philippi. Caesarea Philippi. This is where we meet Jesus in Mark's narrative. Now, I have a few questions, and I'm certain that you share the same ones that I have. So why Caesarea? Why is Caesarea so important? Why did Jesus take his disciples to the most northern Galilean city where more than 95% of his ministry was from the tip of the Sea of Galilee and south? And why does Caesarea Philippi, why does this story appear exactly in the middle of Mark's narrative? Biblical scholars often don't agree. However, in Mark, they agree on one point. Today's reading is at the heart of Mark's entire narrative. It is both a geographical and theological fulcrum at the midpoint of Mark. It serves as a hinge for the entire gospel that provides the peak moment, the grand climax for all that went before to all that follows. In everything that preceded today, Jesus was presented as a miracle worker. We heard over the last few weeks he healed the blind man, fed thousands, walked on water, quieted a storm, cast out demons, and last week made the deaf-mute speak. Now, did you happen to feel the sheer force of Jesus' personality when he asked his disciples in a breathless moment, "But who do you say I am?" At Caesarea Philippi, of all places, as if it were against the background of all religions, all false gods, and all history, was the moment that Peter discovered in a homeless Galilean carpenter, a wandering teacher from Nazareth, that Jesus was the Son of God. And for Jesus, in that moment, he knew for certain that ahead lay the cross, his cross. Jesus' public ministry is now essentially finished. From this point onward, action is directed toward Jerusalem. With Peter's confession to Jesus' question that he was not just a buddy or a miracle worker, but rather the long-awaited Messiah, Mark's theological focus shifts to what it means for Jesus to be the Christ and for his followers to be his disciples. In today's second reading, we're reminded that the name Christian configures us to one person. The pursuit of Christian life is certain to entail hardship and sacrifice if it is taken serious, and it involves work of a certain kind. Now, James speaks of faith's call to action, especially in the service to others. We cannot look at those in need and simply wish them well. To do more often means sacrifice, and that is not a popular word in our vocabulary today, is it? Giving up self, as in me, for you, is the cross of discipleship. So what are some everyday St. Greg examples of taking up one's cross? Here are a few. Walking through the ministry center one morning last month, a dozen ladies were not enjoying coffee and playing cards and gossiping, but rather feverishly knitting. Okay, maybe they were talking, but they were really knitting. They were making prayer shawls for the homebound and the needy. Those women were taking up one's cross. Recall the St. Greg's family that lost their entire house due to an electrical fire this past April. Still living their nightmare, they know the meaning of loss right down to and including socks and underwear. 2 weeks ago, this past Tuesday, the mother texted me in search of a few hands to quickly move some donated furniture to their rental house. A call went out to our Knights of Columbus organization, and 5 knights showed up just like that. Those men were taking up one's cross. St. Greg's has the largest scouting program in the Diocese of Buffalo, with more than 100 youth across girls, cubs, boys, American Heritage Girl Scouts. It takes dozens of volunteers to run various programs, coordinate campouts, Pinewood derbies, hand out water for the Great Race runners, sell popcorn and Advent candles, teach them in the faith, and keep them safe year to year. 2 leaders this summer, while managing activities surrounding summer camp, one had to deal with the loss of a parent and another a total house move. Summer camp went on without a missed beat. Those leaders and all of our scout leaders are taking up one's cross. Just as Jesus in that breathless moment put all things to the test with Peter and his disciples, we too are tested in our ability to deny oneself, take up his cross, and follow him. Perhaps, just perhaps, the question we should be asking ourselves is, do we orientate ourselves with today's false gods and idols of Caesarea Philippi? Or like Jesus, do we keep our sights set on Jerusalem and pick up the cross that gives eternal life?